Alright guys, so in this video we're going to look at a function called setInterval, and what this will do is it'll repeatedly call a function or execute a snippet, a code snippet, with a fixed time delay between each call, and we can define what we want that delay to be. And then we also have clearInterval, which will stop the interval from running. Alright, so ultimately what I want to do here, you see we have two buttons, start color change and stop color change. I want to be able to click on start and have the background, the body background color, keep changing every second or 2 seconds or whatever we want. And then when we click stop, it'll stop the background from changing. All right, but just to kind of explain how this works, I'm going to do a much simpler example. So first of all, we need to create an interval ID. So setInterval will return an ID for us. So we'll say interval ID equals setInterval. Oops, I want that to be lowercase. And then what this is going to take in is going to be a function, which you could put a function in like that, or a named function, which I'm going to do. I'm going to call it myCallback. And then secondly, we're going to pass in the amount of time we want between the times that myCallback runs. So let's do 1 second, so 1,000 milliseconds. All right, then we'll create our function of myCallback, and let's just do a console log. We'll log the timestamp, so date.now. So if I save that and we look in the console, you'll see it's going to log the timestamp every second, and it's going to keep doing that. It's not going to stop unless we call clearInterval. So what I'm going to do is hook up a event listener to this stop button here and call clearInterval. So let's say document.getElementByD, and those buttons have an ID of start and stop. So I want the stop one, and then I'm going to add an event listener onto that and listen for a click, and then we're going to call, let's say, stop change, and then we'll create a function up here. Say stop change, and we want to call clearInterval, and we want to pass in the interval ID. Okay, so that's why we need to set this ID so we can stop it with clearInterval. So now as soon as I load the page, it'll start running, but when I click stop, it's going to call this function stop change, which then calls clearInterval and passes the ID into clearInterval. All right, now you can also pass in arguments. So if I wanted to pass in a string of, let's say, hello, and then I pass my callback, I could say I want this to be just A. And we'll just do console log A. What should we do here? Yeah, we'll just do A and then the timestamp. And now it's just going to show hello and the timestamp. All right, so I'm going to just comment this out. And I want to, like I said, I want to make it so that when we click start, it will change the background color. So I'm just going to create the variable for the ID. So let's say interval ID, and then we're going to have a function called start change. And then we want to check to see if it's running, and we can do that by saying if not interval ID. Okay, if it's not running, if we didn't run setInterval yet, then this will be undefined. So we'll say if not, then let's create our interval ID, or not create, but add a value to it. So we want to set that to setInterval, just like we did before. And then I'm going to put a separate function in here to do the actual change. So let's say change color, and then how often I want it to run, which I'll do every 1 second. Okay, so that's all we need in the start. Now let's come down here and create the change color. All right, so there's a few ways we can do this. I'm going to start off by just alternating it from white to black, and then I'll show you how we can actually make it a random color. So let's check to see if the color of the background is black. So we'll say document.body, that allows us to access the body from the DOM, .style.background color. So we're going to check to see if that is not equal to black, which it's not to begin with. All right, and then if that's true, then let's make it black. So we'll say document.body.style.background color and set that to black. And let's set the text to white. So we'll do, let's say white, and change this to color. Okay, and then what we'll do is have an else, and then we'll set this to white. So we're just gonna alternate it, and then this to black, and that will be the color of the text. Okay, now we need to hook up an event. So let's we'll just copy this, and let's make this start. So we're grabbing the ID of start, and then we're going to call start change. All right, so let's save that, and now I'm going to click start color change, and it's going to go to black, it's going to go to white. So it's going to do that every 1 second. Okay, if I change that to like 3,000, then it's going to do it every 3 seconds. Oh, I got to click start. So in 3 seconds, it changes. 3 more seconds, goes back. All right, well, I'm going to put that back to 1. Now, if we want it to stop, it's going now. If I wanted to stop, I can just click stop, because that calls clear interval and puts the ID inside of it. All right, now to make it a little more interesting, I searched for a way to just generate a random color, a random hex color, because obviously with CSS you can use hexadecimal. So I'm going to just grab that real quick, and let's comment this change color out, and let's create a function called change random color. Now this is the expression that will give us a random hexadecimal. So what we can do is just simply set, actually let's put this in a variable. We'll say const random color, set that to that, and then we'll take the document, let's say document.body.style.background color, and set it to, now we can't just set it to random color because it's just the number. We need to put a number sign in front of it. So we could concatenate it, or we could just use a template string, put the number sign, and then our money sign, curly braces, and then put the random color in here. All right, now we just need to change on the event listener, I'm sorry, not in the event listener, here, right here in the interval, let's say change random color. All right, so now if I click it, it's just going to keep changing to a random hexadecimal. And if we want to stop it, there we go. All right, so experiment with this a little bit. I chose to change the background color, but use some of the stuff we've already learned in terms of what you can select from the DOM and changing elements and styles, and try some stuff out, you know, even if it doesn't even make sense, just for learning purposes. But yeah, that's set interval and clear interval. So now in the next video, I want to get more familiar with callbacks in general.